SABC News presentation.
Hallo en welkom by Fokus op die laaste Sondag van die maand. Ek is Lenet Francis. Ons hoor later in die program hoe mense bedrieg word op sosiale netwerke en selfs van duisende rande beroof word. 'n Kenner vertel ons hoe die swendelaars se doppies geklink kan word. Maar eers, meer as 80 jongmans het sedert die begin van die jaar in bendeverwante voorvalle aan Port Elizabeth gesterf. Een van hulle is 'n matriekleerder aan die Bertram Sekondêre Skool in Bethelsdorp. Dis die syfers wat die polisie slapelose nagte gee en nou dwing om hul stryd teen bendegeweld te verskerp. Volgens ouers en onderwysers moet die gemeenskap die stil sweye verbreek en self betrokke raak by die stryd. Fokus se spesialist-regisseur Keith Suister en kameraman Malusi Ntanzi het die baie se bende getuisterde noordelike gebiede besoek en hier is hul verslag.
Die voortsleepende bendegeweld hier in die baie se noordelike gebiede het inwoners hier bang, juis omdat enige iemand ter enige tyd in die speervuur kan beland. Net onlangs is 'n jong tienerseun, 'n matriekleerling, in bendegeweld hierso doodgeskiet. En hy was een van 4 jongmans wat net op 1 naweek hier doodgeskiet is. Dit het die polisie gedwing om ernstig teen bendegeweld en dwelmhandel op te tree. Die afgelope week is klopjagte op meer as 5 bekende dwelmhuise deur die polisie se misdaadtaakspan en die bende-eenheid uitgevoer. Die groot kommer is die groot getal jong skoolgaande meisies wat by dwelmposte leeg lê. Bendebedrywighede vind toe nie net meer op die strate plaas nie. Dit het ook nou uitgebrei na die klaskamers hier op die skoolbanke. En selfs jong leerlinge, laerskoolleerlinge is nou betrokke. En dit het vir ouers, onderwysers en die polisie 'n groot bron van kommer geword.
5-6 jaar gelede was dit nie in terms van die gangsterisme so erg op die skoolbanke nie. Especially die laerskole. Want die gangsterisme begin op die skoolbanke, op laerskool. Nou brei dit uit. Nou dit kom na buitekant waar die kinders betrokke is in groepe in. Dis die jongste kind is van 8 jaar op, wat ook sy eie groepie het, wat ook nou 'n gangster is, wat ook in die straat en hy een straat kan nie in hy straat in loopie en so begin dit.
Een van die 4 jong mans wat onlangs tydens bendeverwante voorval in Bethelsdorp doodgeskiet is, was 'n matriekleerling aan die sekondêre skool Bertram in Port Elizabeth se noordelike gebiede. Clyde Jaggers het volgens sy klasmaats 'n blink toekoms gehad. Hulle sê hy was 'n stil maar tog grappige klasmaat en sy skoolbank staan nou leeg.
Ons taak is om die leerlinge op te voed. En is altyd kommerwekkend dat as ons jong leerlinge moet afstaan aan die dood so ontydig en vir soms onbenullighede wat as kleinighede beskou kan word. So ons is baie gesteld om die kinders op te voed. En wat buitekant in die gemeenskap gebeur, werk eintlik teen ons. So ons probeer die gemeenskap oortuig dat hulle moet saam met die skool staan om die kinders te help. Dis ons 4de seun wat ons verloor het. Natuurlik nie als aan bendegeweld nie. Maar 1 sterfte is 1 te veel.
Wat wil jy vir ander leerlinge sê wat dink dat bendegeweld of bendeaktiwiteite die uitweg is?
Ons begin met die jonges. Die leerling wat in graad 12 nou is, mag miskien betrokke is, mag nie betrokke is nie. Maar ons fokus nou is om te kyk, kan ons nie by graad 8 begin deur hulle op te voed nie? Want maak nie saak wat ons vir mekaar sê nie, van die bendegeweld of die leerlinge wat deel is, kom van laerskool af.
Vir Clyde Jaggers se ouers is sy dood 'n groot skok. Sy ouers sê hy was 'n stil, gehoorsame kind.
Soos die vriende al vir jy vertel het, stil ouetjie. Ons kon enige tyd kon jy vir hom sê om iets te doen. Hy was nog daai kind in die huis wat sy beerd met die skottel goed gedoen het. Hy was nog kind. En die hartseerste van alles, hy het hierdie jaar 'n besluit om sy hart vir die Here te gee. Hy het konfirmasieklas gaan sit by die kerk en Desember maand so hy aangeneem geword het as 'n volwaardige lidmaat van ons kerk.
En ek het altyd hier ook met hom gepraat en vir hom gesê vir die keuses van sy vriende. Ek sê want soms word jy geken aan die vriende wat jy het. Maar en hy het eintlik die geleentheid ook nog gehad dat hy kon sy matriek afskeid gehou het in April maand. En hy het so pragtig gelyk en met die diep dimpels van lyk my die meisies wat mal oor die dimpels van hom gewees.
Ek dink nou is die tyd dat ons as ouers die pad moet gaan oorneem soos die skollies dit oorneem en vir hulle sê genoeg is genoeg. Want onskuldige kinders se bloed vloei daar buitekant. Ouers huil oor hulle kinders soos ons nog vandag huil oor ons kinders.
Die polisie beloof om deur middel van gereelde klopjagte en deeglike ondersoek agter die motief vir die hernieude bende geweld te kom. Volgens die polisie gaan die huidige konflik oor mag en slaankrag, maar dis die jongste statistieke wat die polisie eintlik laat naalskou.
Hier is die tikpakkies. Vir Bettelsdorp self, het ons 14 moorde gehad en ons het poging tot moord het ons 44 gehad. Vir hulle totaal net vir die helfte van hierdie jaar was 58 bendeverwante skietvoorvalle. Dit beteken is mense wat op mekaar geskiet het. Dit is waaroor die hele ding gaan. En ook by Galmondale het ons 8 moorde gehad en 22 poging tot moorde gehad. En dit gee ons 'n totaal van 30. En vir die hele noordelike areas, dit is waar die twee bendegroepe is, dit is die hele Bettelsdorp Galmondale areas, het ons 88 bendeverwante voorvalle gehad.
Bekommerde inwoners meen die vlaagbende geweld kan net deur samewerking van die breë gemeenskap hokgeslaan word en is nou tyd dat die stilswye verbreek word. So nie gaan nog baie jong mense in die greep van bende geweld na die graf gestuur word.
Net hierna hoor ons hoe mense se privaatheid geskend word op sosiale media netwerke. Bly ingeskakel. Welkom terug. Honderde Facebook-gebruikers kla daagliks oor hulle profiele wat deur kuberdiewe gekloon word. Kenners vermoed die profiele word vir geldelike gewin gekloon, maar dit kon tot dusver nog nie bevestig word nie. Intussen het baie gebruikers van sosiale netwerke soos Facebook en Twitter besluit om hul aktiwiteite tydelik te staak uit vrees vir bedrog en die skending van hul privaatheid. Hier is fokusregisseur Jorien Phyllis en kameraman Gerrit Botha se verslag.
Facebook het in 2004 ontstaan en vandag is daar sowat 1 miljard intekenaars op die sosiale netwerk. Dit word grootendeels gebruik om vriende en familie op te spoor, sowel as om foto's en video's met mekaar te deel. Verskeie maatskappye, wins- en nuwensgewende organisasies, kerkgroepe en ander maak gebruik van die platform om hulself te bemark. Mushfika Botha, 'n skuld-deskundige by Fin24, sê sy gebruik haar Facebook-profiel om vir mense finansiële advies te gee wat nie noodwendig geld het om vir hierdie tipe dienste te betaal nie. Haar profiel is onlangs gekloon.
Oor en oor en oor. My Facebook is al oor en oor gekloon. Ek weet nie meer wat om te doen nie. Ek het van my Facebook vriende wat vir my sê dat hulle tot op 16-20 keer 'n dag van my 'n friend request kry, wanneer hulle al reeds vriende van my is op Facebook.
The cloners, I'll call them the cloners, they are scraping profile information and content off existing Facebook profiles, and they're using that information to create as close to duplicate Facebook profiles as they can.
Botha meen dit kan haar beeld skend omdat bedrieërs geld by mense eis.
Ek is verskriklik bang dat iemand gaan vir my 'n boodskap stuur wat sê dit is my finansiële probleem en iemand gaan vir hulle die verkeerde advies gee want dit is nie regtig ek nie. Dit is nog nie tot op daardie punt nie. Dit is nog nie tot op daardie punt nie. Op hierdie stadium lyk dit nie asof dit daar op daardie punt is nie, maar ek is verskriklik bang dat dit tot daardie punt kan kom.
Daar word wyd gespekuleer waarom geregistreerde verbruikers se profiele gekloon word.
One possible use for this is that what people are doing is they may be collecting these, creating these large networks and selling the numbers. So going up to a brand, for example, and saying to them, well, we have 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, whatever, however many people in this network, we can give you so many likes on your page and it will cost you X amount.
Fokus het via Facebook videocall met Volksblad se verslaggewer in Bethlehem, Reginald Witbooi gesels. Ons het vir hom gevra hoe hy van sosiale netwerke soos Facebook gebruik maak in die veld.
Baie van my stories kry ek op Facebook en soos wat ek geleer het, baie mense weet nie wat nuuswaardige stories is nie en dan sal ek as ek nou op Facebook status sien, dan sal ek iemand inbox om te vra om vir my meer inligting te gee of om vir my kontaknommers deur te stuur vir die partye vir wie ek met wie ek in kontak kan tree.
Jacobson is tans besig met verbruikersopname oor sekuriteitsmaatreëls op Facebook. Mense wat wil deelneem aan die opname kan hom by die volgende skakel kontak.
Niemand kan in kontak kom met Facebook nie. Niemand kom in kontak met Facebook. Niemand kom en sê van Facebook, kyk, ons is eintlik bewus van die probleem nie. Ek dink nog nie Facebook het een keer gesê dat hulle bewus is van die probleem nie. En ek dink nie dis onredelik van ons om te verwag dat jou privaatheid na gekyk moet word op 'n social network soos Facebook nie.
In the scheme of the broader user base, the number of users in South Africa who are affected is almost negligible in the scheme of things. It's also, I think another challenge also is being able to differentiate between the cloned profiles and the authentic profiles, which might also be one of the reasons why they aren't getting involved or at least aren't responding yet. But I think one of the main issues is just that Facebook just isn't really responding.
Jacobson sê mense moet hul profiel privaat hou deur te monitor wie toegang tot sekere aspekte van hul profiel het. Die wat van meer as een toestel soos iPads, selfone en rekenaars gebruik maak, moet onthou om af te teken.
Net hierna praat ons met 'n kenner oor kuberbedrog en hoe om jouself daarteen te beskerm. Bly ingeskakel. Welkom terug by Fokus. Identiteitsdiefstal op die internet is nie net 'n realiteit nie, maar ook 'n groot bron van kommer. Kuberdiewe slaag daarin om toegang te verkry tot internetgebruikers se persoonlike en hul finansiële inligting en baie word van duisende rande beroof. Die Suid-Afrikaanse Polisiediens se webtuiste het onlangs ook deurgeloop onder 'n kuberaanval waar tydens persoonlike besonderhede van 16,000 sogenaamde fluitjieblassers aanlyn bekend gemaak is. Vir meer oor die verskynsel en hoe Suid-Afrikaners hulself kan beskerm, praat ons vanaand met Craig Rosewarne. Hy is besturende direkteur van die maatskappy Wolfpack Information Risk. Thanks so much for your time this evening, Craig. How prevalent is this in South Africa, though?
Well, Annette, this is part of a bigger picture, which is really very, very scary. So what we're talking about here, where social media sites are being hacked, is part of a bigger cybercrime splurge that has really got the world to ransom. And as if that's not bad enough, it's actually part of a bigger cyber threat where we're seeing cyber espionage and cyber warfare right alongside that as serious concerns for governments, companies and individuals to be concerned about.
Isn't it just natural, though, that if you have more people using the internet or who are more online, that you'll run a bigger risk of them either being cloned or hacked?
Yes, totally. So where there are more numbers, I mean, even in the good old days where Microsoft was one of the only operating systems around, it was the main target. Now that there's so many other systems out there, once they become, a nice juicy target, more people will focus on it. And the focus is on identity theft and financial gain.
And what's the objective behind it? I mean, how do you literally hack someone's profile to gain that information, and what do you do with it?
Well, there's so many different ways of actually getting in, and the criminals and the activists actually that are behind this are very, very clever and very tech-savvy, normally one step ahead of those that are trying to protect the information or those that are trying to prosecute them. So people's social media sites, for example, can be either hacked through, and people sometimes don't have good password protection or don't follow all the right, tick all the right boxes to get all the right security measures in place. Or sometimes they just go and clone or copy an account that looks just like yours and use it to impersonate you out on the web. And it's very difficult to see the difference.
And then how would they use that information? Because surely my friends know who I am.
Well, we think and we hope that. But, people, as I said earlier, people are out there to make money, so that's the one thing. So sometimes they would create a fake profile of yourself to get people to follow them, and even sometimes to extort money out of people by sending false messages. You're stuck at the airport, your wallet's been stolen, please send money, and it happens to so many people. The other way is to use that person's account to actually get into more and more people's accounts so that they can infect their machines with software which they can then go in turn and use for other crimes. And there's a whole lot of crimes that can be committed in that vein as well.
We heard the incident with the South African Police Services. Yeah. How big is this problem really now in South Africa?
So that was very unfortunate because it was such a sensitive, topic around whistleblowing. And in South Africa, we want to encourage people to report crime. So I don't think the breach itself and the information that was leaked was maybe as bad or as severe as many have reported. But the point remains that the damage has been done, and people are now going to think twice when it comes to reporting incidents or criminals via that sort of channel, which we don't want to happen.
So where are these people doing this? Who are they?
So if you look at global trends, firstly, so around the world, some of the hotspots where we're seeing attacks happening are coming from Eastern Europe. So most of the cybercrime incidents are coming from Eastern Europe, Romania, Russia, for example. Cyber espionage, we're seeing most of the attacks being reported coming from countries such as China, and even the States, we're seeing a large uptake in cyber espionage monitoring. But it's very difficult to actually pinpoint exactly where the attacks are coming from, because we could see on the system that maybe it's coming from China, but I mean those systems could actually have been compromised by someone else, and they're now piggybacking off that and launching attacks somewhere else.
And won't my firewall pick it up? I mean, isn't that supposed to be impenetrable?
Some of the basic ones will get picked up by your firewall and your basic antivirus, but it's evolved far more past there, and very, very sophisticated tools. And scarily enough, very cheap, very affordable tools are being used to bypass these security measures.
Let's talk a little bit about laws protecting us in South Africa. Are they adequate? Do we need to revise them? What kind of recourse do I have if my account, and particularly bank account, has been hacked or I've been cloned or money has been withdrawn?
So the laws are not adequate, and the processes in place currently also not adequate. There is a law called the ECT Act, which was very much brought out in 2002, so it's over 10 years old now.
It has not been revised?
It hasn't been fully implemented even at this stage, and there is a revision. This was a law that our prosecutors, the NPA for example, were meant to have used to prosecute criminals and put them behind bars. So it's got all the right wording. Unfortunately, it doesn't have enough teeth. So prosecutors out there, when they're catching cyber criminals, they're actually penalising them using common law such as fraud or theft to give them lengthier sentences, 10-year sentences, which is good, but it's not sorting out the problem of the legislation that needs to be sorted out. And there's so many other things that have to be sorted out. I mean, we did a very comprehensive research report, the Cyber Threat Barometer, at the end of last year. We went and interviewed government, the banking sector, the telecommunications sector, and tried to get a feel of what the issues are in the country. And this was one of the major issues that came up, that we don't have the right laws in place, we don't have the right processes to actually report a crime to a police station. So people aren't trained in how to, take in that case. And our police force, whilst there's a lot of good men on the ground and ladies, they are under-equipped and under-resourced to actually deal with the problem, because it's got far bigger than we're able to handle.
So we saw the cyber attack then. You, in your introductory comments, said that this is part of a bigger warfare, literally.
Yes.
And what are we doing about it? I mean, are we like grateful that we don't have the same exposure that, for example, people in the USA or in China would have? Are we in any way safe?
We are safe, but there's so much more that needs to happen. You see, so on the cyber warfare, we're seeing countries spending large amounts. We're talking billions of dollars to actually develop cyber warfare capability. And they're saying that World War III is going to be fought in cyberspace. So they're looking at cyber warfare capabilities as being right next to and complementing your infantry, your naval, your air force capabilities. So in 2010, we saw an attack launched against a nuclear facility in Iran using purely software, malicious software that went in, switched off the safety devices around these nuclear devices that actually enriched uranium. And over 5,000 devices were actually physically damaged in that attack. So it just shows you how we're moving from the Cold War almost to the Code War.
Some of our users aren't that sophisticated, and they're just trying to make do with understanding how to put up a status update or how to tweet.
Yes.
But there's this other grey area about when I'm tweeting in my private capacity and in my public space. How do we guide and find our way through that when we put up disclaimers saying this is my thoughts, but then the company says you're not allowed to say those things because you are affecting our reputation, you're bringing us into disrepute?
Exactly, and it's very much a grey area. So whilst you can put up all the disclaimers, especially if you're a public figure and known to be affiliated to a certain party or a company, unfortunately, as us talking here today, the same applies on social media, for example. Your comments are going to be taken as per those of your employer or your association. So we have to be very sensitive. You also have to be sensitive about what information we're putting up. If we just focus on the area of children, for example, posting pictures of your children up on Facebook. There's all sorts of weird and wonderful people out there. And what people have realized now, especially taking photos with smartphones, that the geo-IP location of those photos can actually be traced. So you can actually take those photos, there's information behind those photos that shows right down to a GPS layer exactly where those photos were taken.
And the other thing is you said, and I need our viewers to know that even your cell phones can be hacked now, so no one is safe. Indeed.
They're about to launch one of the biggest vulnerabilities now, where they're estimating between 10 to 20% of SIM cards out there are extremely vulnerable to being hacked. And that means, in South Africa now we've seen, to give you an example, we did, as part of that research, we got stats from the banks around, in a year and a half, over 10,000 people actually were victims to those little phishing emails that we receive, where you've won money through a Nigerian scam or a banking thing. So we have to be a bit more alert. Indeed, but now what always protected you was to have your one-time password on your internet account. So I could log into your account, but I couldn't add a recipient because I had to receive a one-time password. And now that these cards are being cloned, criminals are getting through that, accessing your funds and cleaning out your access bond, your savings, and it's very painful.
Scary stuff. Not a good way to start a Monday morning, Craig, but thank you so much for joining us this evening. Dit was dan vanaand se Fokus. Kykers se kommentaar en voorstelle is altyd welkom. Skryf net die woord Fokus gevolg deur 'n kort boodskap en SMS dit na 34444. 'n SMS kos R2. Word gerus ook 'n lid van ons Fokus groep op Facebook en volg ons op Twitter by FokusZA. Van my Lenet Fransis, ons gas en die res van die Fokusspan. Totsiens tot volgende Sondag aand.